down questions. So as you're listening to the board candidates, if something comes up that you want to ask all of them or one of them, you can jot it down and we will take them up later and make sure that they are all answered to the best of our ability, okay? So as we begin, let's say a prayer. Holy One, even though this may not be the thing we enjoy the most of us, this is such an important part of having a church where we do the business of the church efficiently and effectively so that we can spend most of our time doing ministry. And so it is an important part of the life of our church. And I thank you for all who are here and have gathered and have taken an interest. I pray for our candidates for the board of directors, and I appreciate so much that they have said yes to this call. So be with us now and help us to be discerning and faithful. May it be so. Amen. Just a quick reminder about our process here at Church of the Trinity according to our bylaws, which is that the board appoints a nominating committee, and the nominating committee is tasked with taking all applications for people who have an interest in serving on our board of directors. And then they go through all of the applications and they do a first pass to make sure that they meet the basic requirements, and one of those is that they have to be a member of our church for a year. And then they use a rubric which helps them to go through and be as unbiased as possible about all of the candidates. And then the nominating committee brings a slate of candidates to the board of directors. A slate means that we vote on them all together as a group. And the upside of this particular process is that it helps us to have the kind of gifts and skills that we need that we may not currently have. And so the slate of board members is helpful in that way. I think the nominating committee did bring these three candidates because we had three open positions. And so we have accepted them from the nominating committee, and today we commend them to you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our vice moderator, Mari Newmer.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around to do some very important business of the church. So we've got three wonderful candidates, and I just want to say thank you all for stepping up and offering to be of service to the church. So I have a couple of questions, and then hopefully you're all writing a question or two that we'll get to know our candidates a little bit better. So first thing is let's each introduce ourselves and tell us how long you've been a member of the church.
Well, my name is Richard Henry. I have been a member of MCC since 2003 and a member of Church of the Trinity since 2011.
Hi, I'm Joe McKenzie, and I have been a member of Church of the Trinity since 2012.
And I'm the newbie to Church of the Trinity. I've been a member of MCC actually since 1994, but Church of the Trinity, I've been a member a year, and we've been coming to the church for 2.
What's your name?
Oh, sorry. My name is Amy Snyder.
All right, thank you. Can each of you briefly describe your previous experience in church leadership or a similar role, and how you think this experience will benefit our church?
I'll start. I have had the opportunity in 2 churches to be treasurer of the church and on a board of another, and really feel like that maybe bringing learnings from those areas and from those congregations will benefit. It will also benefit me. I've benefited from being a part of the generosity team, part of the chair of the trivia, chair of the fundraising team, the choir, preparedness team, etc., and it's really fed me as well. So I'm looking forward to giving and receiving.
Thank you. Joe?
I previously served on the board, and my last role on the board was as vice moderator. So I feel like, we, I know the job, and I know it can be challenging, but it can also be so rewarding. And you know, I have experience running businesses. I work for a financial institution, a great financial institution, and so I'm the sort of person who I look at the numbers, I understand the numbers, and just, you know, want to make sure that we're doing what's best for all of you, for the church. And I feel that my life is at its best when I'm serving others. So I feel blessed that I have this opportunity to serve my community.
Thank you.
At the end of this term, I will have served 10 years on board of directors, 4 years at Joy MCC in Orlando, the balance here at Church of the Trinity. I also served on the board of Trinity Charities for 3 years.
Great, thank you. I didn't add up how many years, but it's a lot. A lot of experience here. All right, so Amy, I'll start with you. What is your vision for the church, for our church, for the future of our church, and how do you plan to contribute to achieving our long-term goals? So the vision of our future.
I would have to say that leans wholeheartedly in my mind and heart to, you know, our mission, which is God's agenda is love, and that we want to continue to serve our congregation here, growing, nourishing, nurturing, but also serving our community at large as well. I feel like that I have a kind of, I'm not going to call it unique, I'll call it weirdness. I have a business mind, I have a law degree and blah, 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 been in business for a number of years, but I also am that person that loves to reach out and hug and touch and make connections, right? So I think that hopefully what I'll be able to bring is a variety of things from a business sense to loving, you know, and just keeping us and bringing us together.
Great. So. Thank you. All right, I'm going to ask, I know we've got some questions from the crowd. Joe, do you want to talk about your vision for the future of the church and how you plan to help us contribute to achieving those goals?
Well, one thing that I would like to say, you know, around the time I transitioned off the board, Reverend Lilly was really, you know, getting started here at the church. And we were in a position then where our church was, our membership was declining. I don't feel like we were doing as much outreach to the community, serving the greater community as we could have been. And we are, in my opinion, we're just in a fantastic place today, and all the church leadership deserves great praise for that. The work that we do for Emma E. Booker, and I work in that community, and you could not have picked a better place to provide ministry to. So, and I really love the fact that there are a lot of new faces at the church, and younger faces. We have JT, for example. You know, it's so I think we're doing a lot of things right, and I think the most important thing we can do is just kind of get out of the way and support the leadership and just keep us going in the direction we're going, because I think we're going in the right direction.
Excellent. Richard, I'm going to ask you a different question. Can you describe your understanding of our mission and core values and of our church, and how you plan, how you have, and still continue to plan to uphold them as your role on the board?
Well, my concept of our mission is basically what Amy said, and it's on our t-shirts. God's agenda is love. And I believe in a God of expansive love, and I think that's the example that we're following. Jesus went to the people in the margins. I think that's where our growth is about to be and will continue to be. I don't think that we can judge the growth of Church of the Trinity necessarily by only what we see on a Sunday morning. We judge it by, as JT said at one of the prior forums, our interactions. And how are we getting those interactions? We get them face to face, but we get an awful lot of them online on Sunday mornings and online throughout the week when people find us and our services. But we also get them through social media, and that's a growing edge for us right now. Now, how can I support that as a board member? As a true introvert, I will not be the face of these things. Trust me on that. You don't want me to be the face of these things. But what I think my role as a board member is to make sure that we, the board, provide the resources that the ministers of the church, all of you, need to do the ministries, to do the outreach in the margins.
All right. Thank you. All right. So, Amy, talk about your understanding of the mission and core values and how you plan to uphold those as your role, in your role.
And like Richard said, our mission as it's stated, and as I feel like we live it, which is much different than some other churches that I've been in, but that we are led by our lived experience, that God's agenda is love, and that there is no other agenda. And that is our mission. There's a lot in those few little sentences, right? I feel like, Kay, my wife, has been just a blessing in my life, but with her and her ministry, a lot of things that I've actually learned from her about self-care, about how to love, about boundaries, about communication. There's a lot of things that I'm hoping that I will be able to do well for this church, with the congregation, with the members. Just like with trivia event, my heart was so warm that day. It was raining when we were cleaning up the tables, and we had people that couldn't lift chairs, but they could set chairs, so we were lifting and setting, and it was just like this assembly line that just happened, and that's much like what we want to do. We want to be able to operate because we are a business, but we are in the business of God and God's love. So I'm hoping that I will be able to advance that with some of the skills that I'm honing every day, learning every day. But yeah.
You answered the same question very differently. It was awesome. I love it.
How about that?
How about that? All right. Do we have any questions?
We had this question submitted. Give us one of your strengths and one of your opportunities for growth.
To go first, I've got one of my strengths would probably be organization and all that means, and project management type of thing. Okay, it's telling me to put project. Organization, advancing things, planning and making things happen. Areas of opportunity, oftentimes I take on too much, or I take things to heart that maybe I can't control. So I work on that.
I would say, as far as strengths go, like I said, the church we don't think of the church necessarily as a business, but it is. We do have bills to pay and things of that nature. So I think that's where my strength comes in. But I also think that that I'm good at dealing with people, and I am a total introvert as well. So that does not come easy. But within any organization, the biggest challenge I've always found, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's dealing with people. It's, whether you're supervising them or dealing with them, that's where things get messy, but that's okay. And I think that as far as things that are things to work on is, I guess in that same vein of being an introvert is just, I won't say being more approachable, it's just approaching people and just, having conversations is something that doesn't come easily to me. And, you think I'm a banker and, I go to cocktail parties and stuff like that and just wow people with my financial expertise. But no, it's not something that comes easily to me. And, and honestly, I often come home and tell John that, I've peopled all liking people today. I need to recharge my batteries. But like I said originally, the thing that really keeps me going and makes me happy is that at the end of the day, serving others. So
I couldn't say what he said, but I think one of my strengths is strategic thinking, big picture thinking. In my profession, I always had to keep my eye on the big picture, so that's very ingrained in me. And I think, quite honestly, my biggest challenge is just peopling. Personal interactions. I am much happier when I'm sitting in my chair with a book.
We've got some introverts and an extrovert. All right. That's right. Is there anybody in the audience who has a card in their hand or a question?
So if this slate of candidates is elected, there'll be the four of you on the board. No? You're going off. So who will that leave on the board besides these three candidates? I have another question.
Can our current board members stand up? We've got Jim LaChapelle, we've got Nancy. Who will continue? Oh, who are going to continue? That's his question, right? We've got, where's Cindy? Cindy, and we also have Jill, who is not here right now.
This is a more of a process question. I remember way back when I was on the board, we spent an awful lot of time writing a policy that said there will be 4 members selected in odd number years and 3 members selected in even numbered years. Are we ever going to get back to that?
Well, I tried. And the way I tried, the math didn't work. I thought if I volunteered for a 1-year term, that might get us back on track. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that would take us farther off track because we'd be doing 5 people next year.
So, can I make an observation real quick, Richard? So is the policy that they get elected during, is it the election year or when they start serving? Because when they start serving is going to be 2025, and so that would be 3 people.
Well, and I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to look at the actual verbiage to see how it's written. That policy is still on the books.
Reminder that how we got off track was during the pandemic, because we agreed to have that board where some would have gone off to continue. They all agreed to continue for another year because of the pandemic. So that's how we kind of got off our rhythm around the policy. So I guess the question is, what kind of strategy do we need to get back on policy, or do we need to change the policy? Yeah. I mean, that's a good question about what we need to do around it.
Something that they will work on first thing.
Yeah,
come
we'll put it on
January
our
1st.
agenda. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Were you raising your hand?
Sure. Why not? Hello, hello. Okay, so I'm a teacher in my heart, and just something that what Jim, I believe, said. No, who? Okay, so if we have a policy and we're not following it, then we shouldn't have that policy, because some people really like to look at those things and make them, you know, to join something that follows the policies. So just from where I stand, I would like for that to be a priority for our church, is to go through our policies and procedures and make sure that we have something that is clearly written and identified for all members. Thank you.
I definitely agree that if the policies have to reflect what the actions actually are. And we've updated a lot of policies this calendar year to reflect how we now do our business as a church. I need to look, because I'm old and my memory doesn't tell me exactly what I want. I think that the even odd number of years is in the bylaws. And if that's the case, then we as a board will have an option. We can either change the bylaws to reflect what the reality is, or we can change the reality to reflect the bylaws. And
The congregation has to change the bylaws.
if it's the bylaws, it does need a vote of the congregation to change. So the board should take that up.
And
will.
also, oh, sorry. And also from an operations standpoint, we're looking at a policy that will have all of our documents, like business policies and all of those things, reviewed on a biennial review system. So at least every 2 years, every policy will be looked at to make sure that we don't need to make updates. So that is also coming up as well.
Another question?
I have a question in regards to a church member. We used to have a contingency fund for members who needed help. So I'm just in regards to that.
Yeah,
what would the board do with that?
Brian, I think today we need to keep the questions for the candidates for us to get to know them. And maybe at the budget forum, bring that question forward. I think that's a little more appropriate time to do that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for offering your service, and feel free to get to know them more if you need to. And we will now adjourn.